Welcome to the No Love Podcast, where we decrease tomorrow's divorce rate today by teaching singles and couples alike how to experience love on purpose and not by chance. I'm your host, Edward L. Fairley, accompanied by my wonderful host, Mrs. Charlene. Miss Charlene, you ready to serve love to the people?
I am ready to serve love to the people.
Well, let's dive in. Let's do it.
All right. Well, here's what I got to kick us off for today. And I find this one quite interesting. I can't wait to see what your thoughts are going to be on this. So, obviously, we've all heard of affairs, like straight up affairs. We've heard of one night stands. I know that there, in some circles, there's talk of emotional affairs, and that's what I'm starting with today, the concept of an emotional affair. So, here's what's going on. Here's a scenario. There is a couple that are both quite professional in what they do. They're really successful in their professions. They are not married. They don't have children together, but they both do have children from other relationships. They are both divorced and they have been dating for around 3 years now. They don't live together. And over the last year, this last year, sometime in May, the female of the couple, we'll call her Sarah, Sarah discovered that her partner, Scott, uh, was communicating with a young woman through various measures, could be WhatsApp or whatever, for about 3 months. And she found these communications and did not like what she saw. She said this wasn't, in her mind, like a close friendship. This was actually really emotional in nature, had a lot of sexual innuendos in there. She's not convinced that something happened physically, and she's not convinced that something didn't happen physically. But she was quite upset about it, and she confronted Scott. So Scott ended up really apologizing. He got very emotional, very upset. Um, Sarah doesn't understand why this happened because they talk all the time. She's available to him. By Sarah's own words, she does not withhold sex from him. She actually has said herself that on a sexual level, they're really compatible. She said they've never had a problem with it. Her own words, it's quite frequent for them. But it's on all the other levels that she thought everything was going fine, but apparently not. And she's really confused as to how he could do this to her, how he could not know that this is an invasion. And now she simply does not trust him. And this happened in May. Remember, it went on through 3 months. She discovered in May. We are now in October of the same year. And they're not talking about marriage. They're not talking about engagement, but they're talking about maybe trying to move in together. But she says no matter what, she cannot bring herself to trust him. So she is going through his phone now all the time, not just behind his back. She actually randomly, when they're hanging out, asks, can she see his phone so that she can just look through whatever it is that she wants to look through? And this happens quite a bit. So she can't let it go. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are all of these things are natural. Not in a good sense, but they're natural. Second, she has every right to randomly check his phone. Whatever it takes for her to gain trust back if he wants to move forward with her, especially if they're talking about moving in now. That's a whole nother conversation. I don't understand why you would want to try to combine or join worlds with someone that you're starting off with lack of trust. But it's definitely if that's what's necessary for her to regain the trust that's lost. Because let's say you said 3 months is how long they've been together.
No, she discovered that the emotional affair was going on for 3 months, but this couple has been together for about 3 years.
Okay. All right. So let's play this out. And your volume seems kind of low. I don't know if that's just
Oh,
me or um.
can you hear me
So
better?
it's about the same thing, but I can hear you nonetheless. So the
Wait, before you answer this, because I don't want to make the editing part.
no, you're fine.
Let's see. Is that better? Can you hear me? Or is it
It
still
it
low?
still sounds the same, but it could be my volume. So don't worry about it.
Okay, but you can
It could
still
be
hear
my
me.
volume. Yeah, I can definitely hear you. You're clear
Okay.
enough for me to hear. So
Okay.
we have to unpack this because I get this a lot. People get upset, like, man. Now, ironically, you didn't say that he said she needs to get over it. He seems to be fine with sharing his phone, which is good for him. But oftentimes, I get someone who has had a mishap, made a mistake, poor decision making, or what have you, and they're like, "Man, it's been 3 months, 3 years. she or he needs to get over it. But what we have to understand is that you all have been together for 3 years. 3 months ago is when she found out that you were having an emotional affair. Nothing physical that she believes, but it's an emotional affair nonetheless. And so that causes someone to conspire that even though it happened 3 months ago, or you were found out 3 months ago, that this has been going on for the entirety of the 3 years. So if it takes her 3 years to gain that trust back, that's on him. He created that kind of thought process because he actually moved outside of the relationship. And if she's worth it, he's going to have to just deal with it. There's not necessarily a time frame. If he feels that she's valuable enough, he's going to have to deal with the actual random checks or random searches is probably the best way I could put it.
Right.
But
Right.
even more importantly, he probably needs to make sure that he leaves his phone around. He has no locks or anything like that on his phone, just in order to gain or regain trust in that particular relationship. But in the end, that lack of trust is his fault. So whatever the consequence of that is, you got to suck it up. It was your selfishness that caused this to be a thing. So now you have to find or grow in selflessness in order for you to regain this person's trust and kind of deal with that. Now, forgiveness, that's a dangerous thing because when you are the person who needs to forgive, now you've put yourself in a predicament where you have to walk on eggshells as to what it is that you do. Because when you do
Yeah.
something, because you're gonna fall. I don't care who you are, you're going to slip. It might not
Yeah.
be cheating. That might not be your vice. That
Right.
might not be your struggle. But you're going to slip up. So now what you're preventing yourself from being able to do is receive forgiveness when you don't forgive. You can only receive what it is that you're able to give first. Because until then, you don't even really believe that it can be done. So if you are the person that is preventing someone from receiving forgiveness, even when you have received forgiveness, you can't receive it. So we have to first, out of love, be the ones to give it in order for us to receive it on the flip end of it. So my thoughts on this is it's unfortunate. My other thoughts are you might feel that you all are sexually compatible. You might feel that you've created an environment where all discussion is to be had, but there's evidence that suggests otherwise if it's being found somewhere if he's found to be doing it somewhere else. And that needs to be unpacked. And it does not sound good to hear this, but you play just as much a part in that experience as he does. And that's what is kind of a hard pill to swallow because though the act was bad on that person's fault, we do have to really assess how we contributed to the act. And sometimes we have to think of it's almost like raising children. Actually, it's exactly like raising children. Let me cut. It's
Yeah.
exactly like raising children. What I mean by that is was there a time where he or she shared something and you went off on the response to what they shared to where they said, I can't bring that to mom anymore. I can't bring that to dad anymore because of how you responded. Or I have people to say, well, no, that never happened to me. But it might have indirectly happened. Were you all watching a movie where another person of the opposite sex or in that particular type of relationship shared and you shared how you would respond based on that movie that caused them to take a note like, I can't share that with my wife or I can't share that with my husband. You have to really, really kind of glance at your relationship objectively and step out and say, man, what is there something that I said or is there something that I did that would suggest that he can't talk to me this way or she can't? And if she had access to the actual conversations, that's one thing about it. Like you can't not remember the kind of expression. So that's a good place to start too. Were there dialogues that in that exchange were similar to conversations that you all have had? Or were they
Good
dialogues
question.
that
Question.
were questions, I mean, conversations that you all having. Because if you're saying that you've never prevented him from having those type of conversations, and of course genders don't really matter, so vice versa, if her if you say that you've allowed for her to have that freedom, then if you cannot find conversations that they're having in an exchange about that y'all have had, then you can't really say that you've given him or her that outlet. Now the crazy thing about this that I find in relationships, especially when it comes to sex, and in this case, I know we're talking about an emotional stepping out, but
Mhm,
clearly there's some sex innuendos in the exchange.
mhm.
So
Yeah.
typically, when there is someone that steps out, there are things sexually that they just feel, if my wife or if my husband knew about this, he would think I'm some kind of freak or what have you, and we wouldn't and he or she would judge me. Now that's where the essence of this is coming from. The judgment. If he or she knew me, which is sad, this really, you might find me getting emotional as I unpack this, because to suggest that you're gonna have a life of forever with a person that you feel would judge you means that they're not your friend. And
Wow.
for
That
you to get married to a person that's not your friend, which is very, very common, is just a a life of torment. Because if you think about a friend is someone that you can tell everything to. That is what a
mhm,
friend is, without you feeling judged or whatever.
mhm,
That's who you really share your intimacy with. And I know
mhm,
so many guys and gals that have their spouse, but their best friend, as opposed to their spouse being their best friend. So their true intimacy is with their friends, as opposed to their spouse. And you'll hear it when you say, when I hear stuff like, "Well, man, I can't tell my husband that, or I can't tell
right.
my wife that." Now the irony in that is you're telling me that phrase, which means you shared something and confided in me. I'm more of a friend to you than your spouse is, because you
Mhm,
shared that with me enough to where you said, I can't tell my husband that. That implies that you shared that thing with me. I made you feel that comfortable,
mhm.
that you shared that with me, but you can't share that with a person that you decided to live the rest of your life with, for
Yeah.
better or
Yeah.
worse, for sickness or in health. You can't even have a worse if you can't share your your innermost secrets with your spouse. That's sad. Because when
Yeah.
you go home, that should be your safe haven, your peace, where you can go lay your head down. And that's when you actually know that you're chosen.
Mm. We need to unpack this a little bit more then, because there's a lot of food for thought on this one. One of the ones is you started at the beginning. You said, "Well, she's actually right to be able to look at his phone whenever she wants." I find it interesting. I had a different mindset of that, and I still do. The my mindset on that is, if you are the offended one, if you're the one in the relationship that didn't step out, but you discovered it and you choose to stay, you got to decide for yourself what that life is going to look like for you. And if you're going to spend the rest of that relationship questioning and punishing the other person all the time because of your own insecurity, granted, based on something that he or she did, but you're choosing to stay. So if you're going to punish them all the time, then what is the quality of the relationship that you're in? So that's my first thought there.
That's a
What's your
fair
thought?
statement. My response to that would be, how is sharing your phone punishment? How is
I
someone
feel
having
like
access to my phone if we're saying we're one and I don't have anything to hide from you? How is that punishment?
because in just asking for the phone, especially in front of him, that's a really aggressive move, in my opinion. That's an accusation. She could just have access. Now, listen, my husband has all of my passwords to all of my things. He can look at
Mhm.
any time. I have no idea if he does or doesn't, but I got nothing to hide. It wouldn't even offend me even 1 second if he was like, "Can I just look at your phone right now?" But it would make me wonder if he said it in a certain way, like, "I need to see your phone." Like if he's abruptly interrupting our night or if we're having a dinner or a date, and he's like, "Wait, I got to see your phone." I'd be like, "What the heck? Why are we here? Why am I being accused again?" I would take it like that. And I even
So
step down.
so so you expected something that's totally different than the ask. So the ask is not the offensive movement or action. It's
Right.
the intent behind the ask. Now I agree with you
Yeah.
wholeheartedly. A relationship should be more of a covering. So it seems like in that particular situation or that environment, she is trying to expose him to everyone that what it is that he's done, and she's chastising him in front of other people. That's not cool. I agree with you 100%. But if she's asking because she needs clarity, it works on both ends. That's the thing about it. He cheated. This would not happen if that did not happen. That's what it all boils down to. That's why I
Yeah.
said you got to suck it up and deal with, if you really want to be with her or if you really want to be with him, you got to suck up what your consequence is, because this would not be happening had you not done what you've done that caused the lack of trust. Again, we got this person that's wondering and they really don't have evidence. As you could say, well, we just started, this just happened as of this date, but there's no evidence of that. So now you have 3 years of this conspired thought process that you created. So how can you become the victim when you did it? You got a deal. But at the same token, as you shared so eloquently, that person has a decision. Why would you want to be in that predicament to where you don't
Right.
trust this person? And you have to always check or what have you. Now you have to make a decision. Do I pivot and leave, or do I stay in this predicament where I can't trust for the rest of my life? That's not something that I would want to be a part of.
Yeah, me either. Now, the other thing to unpack here is I have asked this person, because I do know this couple, I've asked this person straight up, why are you still there? You know, if you're already concerned about this, why are you still there? And she indicates that because they broke up, but it didn't stick. Like they can't be with each other, but they can't be without each other. It sounds to me, again, like an unhealthy dynamic. I know this. I have family members that can't be around alcohol because they can't have just one drink. And I have family members that can't walk away from alcohol because they can't have just one drink. How is this any different?
It's not, but oh, boy.
Mm.
That response is just a nice way of saying I don't like being alone. That's all it
Yeah.
is. It's a
Yeah.
it's a dressed up way of saying I don't want to be alone. And the way that I combat that is, if you don't like being with you, how would you expect someone else to like being with you?
Let's say that again. What was that one more time? Hmm.
My response to anyone out there that's staying in a relationship because ultimately the real reason is they don't like being alone or by themselves. That would only suggest that you don't like you. You don't want to be in a room with you. So you're trying to find company to be with a you that you don't even like. So my question would be, if you don't like you, how in the world do you expect someone else to like you? And
Yeah.
I always tell people who are single that the best time to find a mate is when you absolutely love being by yourself, not when you're trying to find someone to complete you or give you something that you lack. And in this case, that will be happiness. You're not happy by yourself, yet you're looking for someone to give you that happiness. You can't even give it to you. How in the world could you even advise someone on how to maintain it if you can't even give it to yourself? That's crazy.
Yeah. That's
So
also
that would be my
really insightful.
response.
Yeah. And then the last thing to unpack here is we have to remember they have children from other marriages. They don't live together right now, but they are considering doing so. Now, from her perspective, she indicates that she would feel a lot more, and I quote, confident and comfortable and secure in the relationship if he would ask her to move in. He has not done so. He has. Now, I find this interesting. They did purchase some kind of investment property in a different country together, but he has not asked her to move in with him stateside, and she has been indicating that she wants to do that. So I have an issue with two of these things. One is we're back to if you can't trust him now, and just from a female friend perspective, what are you doing? You're gonna move in? You're already telling me you can't trust the guy, and you're telling me that he hurt you, and you're telling me he betrayed you, and now you want me to be okay that you want to move in with him? What's wrong with you? Now I'm
Yeah.
questioning her sanity. That's the one. And the other thing is they got kids. That's not cool. That's not okay. What are your thoughts?
I think children are always a big determining factor. Especially I definitely, if the this is what I when you have children, what I need people to really understand, if y'all don't hear me on anything, hear me on this. whatever your relationship is in front of your children is what your children are learning that a relationship should be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they are stepping back, they're watching, okay, so this is how I should be to my wife, or this is how I should be to my husband, which is why a lot of relationships are broken. That abuse or what have you, he saw his dad beat his mom. This is it's a learned behavior that they're duplicating. And they're thinking that this is how love is. And it's justifiable because they saw it in action and they saw y'all stay together on top of that. So they saw you stay together in a traumatic experience and they defined that as, oh, this is how things are. That is so that makes that
Wow.
that bothers me. So I typically tell people to separate if the environment of the children is bad to where they're learning that this is what love supposedly is supposed to be based off of your actions when you two are not moving lovingly at all. And the crazy thing about it is oftentimes people stay in bad relationships for the kids when you're
Yeah.
really destroying the kids in that bad relationship that you're staying in.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely don't recommend anyone coming again. And all this is, it's the equivalent of her saying that I think this would fix our relationship if we have a baby together.
Yeah.
The house,
Yeah.
the house would be the
As
baby.
bad of an idea. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
It's a
It's insane.
horrible idea. It
Yeah.
doesn't fix adding things
Mm.
to the situation does not change the situation.
Yeah.
Be it family members, be it another man or another woman, be it a baby, adding stuff to the circumstances not fix anything. Discussing and addressing what's really going on, it's what needs to happen in order for this matter to be resolved. And I definitely don't think that them living together is going to fix anything. If anything, it's going to harm more people than just them. And
Yeah.
also the question is, okay, if he's willing to do business with you, but he's not willing to do life with you,
Right.
that is something that you would need to question. Why do you need to try to force him to want to marry you and be in the household with you? All of that stuff. So yeah, at this point, you need to make a decision if you feel valuable enough to transition and pivot. And also, this is gonna sting a little bit if they're the ones listening to it, but I think you need to assess, is that how the other marriage ended? Because if that's the case,
Great
then
question.
there's a pattern that you are a part of that you need to really assess.
That's a really good question, actually. I like that. I'm going to offer some final thoughts on this one and then pass it to you for your final thoughts for perhaps advice for the couple. Uh, from my standpoint, again, just as a sisterhood thing. Um, Anytime a woman is talking to me about her relationship, I'm feeling her, listening to her. Of course I am. But just because you're a woman doesn't mean I'm going to treat you with the stereotype of, oh, you have more feels, and so I have to be more sensitive and whatever, because that happens a lot in sisterhood, like a lot.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I'm here to point out to this individual, you've got some unresolved trauma, and that's not on him, that's on you. You got to clean your house. You got to take care of you. And you're not going to be good for him or anyone else, especially your kids, until you clean that up. And that's my
Yeah, most
advice.
certainly.
Here's.
Not to mention, I mean, how you deal and what you accept is only a reflection of how you feel about you.
Mm-hmm.
Period. So that's why I stressed the only time you should start dating is when you love being alone because that's when you won't just accept anything. You'll be very, very um intentional about adding someone to your life that's either going to take away from the joy you already have or cause more issues to like you're not going to be willing to give that up. So you're going to interview very, very well before you make a
Yeah,
decision. And
smart.
oftentimes people don't. They're typically dating from a broken place, trying to add something to fix them, which they're the only ones that really have the ability to do that.
Yeah, it's my strong desire that these guys figure out whatever their own path is. And I
Most
say
certainly,
for
whether that's together or apart,
yeah,
you still
something
can
healthy.
find love in either one of the decisions.
I like it. All right. Well, that was the first question today. You ready for the next one?
Yes, bring it on.
All right. This one is interesting as well. So here we're going with sex again, but we're only doing this because I also I want you to talk about what you think, what your opinions are of genders and sex and relationships and stereotypes about this. So in this case, it's a man saying, I am dealing with the aftermath of emotional abuse in a previous relationship. How can I heal and open myself up to love again when I don't know how and I don't think I can?
That's it. We're done. That's the
That's
question.
it. We're done.
All right.
Yep.
So this is not going to help him by any means, but it's just the truth, and he's gonna have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, love and manipulation are identical.
Ooh, explain that. We got to break that down.
So the person that caused you to have hurt feelings or emotional trauma, they did the things that are loving. They did like it could be a guy, he held the door, he bought flowers. It could be the woman, she paid attention, she was very loving. Whatever, if you want to put gender roles to it, I can reverse those all day. But all of those acts are acts of love. But the
Okay.
intent behind them are for self gain. And I would I'm a victim of that. So I mean, I have no problems with sharing. So one of my default setting, be it in love or manipulation or selfishness, is that I get fulfillment from assisting someone else benefit. So that could be sexual, that could be teaching, that could be anything. I if we're talking about sex, my release comes as a result of me getting the woman a release.
Mhm. Okay. Okay.
So I'm very intentional and strategic, and I pay attention to the body so that I can get her to a climax so that I can climax.
Mhm. Makes sense.
So in the beginning, before I knew and I moved in the essence of love, it could be easily assumed that I am selfless in my actions to get a woman to whatever her peak is. But it
Mm-hmm.
was all a selfish act. I needed to get mine off. So, in order for me to get mine off, I got to get you off.
I see what you're
So,
saying. Okay. Yep.
my act was a selfish act, but it looked like it was a selfless act, which allowed for me to get what it is that I wanted. So I say all that to say the a person that's manipulative, a person that is has evil motive, they know what characteristics are required to get you to feel like you're wanted, you're needed, you're paid attention to. We have salespeople, don't we? That's what a
Yeah. Sure
salesperson
do.
does. They
Yeah.
get all the information from you, from all of these questions, so they can know what to give you, so that they can massage the sale in a manner that makes you want to buy it. And it might not have anything like it might not even be the reason or the way that they created the actual product, but they got enough information to sell you on why it is the thing that you need or you want. I say all that to say that's where all of these people come into play. Now, how you can combat that, and I'm confident that this is very common, is to not share what those things are with the people that you're dating so that you can interview without them knowing. So,
Okay.
uh, oftentimes when people date, what happens is they'll say, "Well, what is it that you're looking for in a man? What is it that you're looking for in a woman?" And we blurt it out. Why? Because psychologically, I don't feel like wasting my time.
Right.
I, I'm not trying to waste my time. This is what I'm interested in. But what you don't realize is you're giving them a cheat sheet on how they can
Right.
become who it is that they need to be in order to get you, as opposed to you saying simply, time will tell and hopefully is you. Um,
Smart.
because
Smart.
if I tell you everything there is that I need, you can conform. Now that doesn't even have to be malicious. That could be you really, really like me, so I want to try to live up to this in order to win you over because I really do genuinely like you. But it could also be a person that has, hey, whatever I got to do to get him or her in bed, this is what I'm going to do so I can win
Mm,
him over, get that check, and move on. So if you keep that information to yourself, and as time unpacks, you just observe and indirectly interview, now you know through the checks of the process whether this person is the one for you. But again, a big mistake that we make is we share everything because we're trying to save time, which in actuality, you're
right.
adding time because you're causing someone to act as opposed to be, so that you know if you are picking the one that you want to be with. Does that make sense?
That does. I love that. You're causing somebody to act instead of just be. I like that a lot. And actually, it's comical in my head to picture a dating scenario where somebody says, "What are you looking for?" And the other person like whips out a whole laundry list. Well, I would like for you to have good teeth, some nice eyes, good hair. You have good hair. I like your hair. How are you? How's your breath in the morning? Like I could just imagine somebody going through a laundry list, because that's not
No.
even if you didn't want to create that for somebody else, like what is that experience like for the other person? They might be like, geez, I know I asked the question, but I don't know if I can live up to all of that. Now, the other thing I want to point out here, again, in my assessment, is this person, they're saying, I'm dealing with the aftermath of emotional abuse in a previous relationship. And you just outlined how to prevent that setup when you're dating or meeting somebody. I think that's great. I also want to point out he said, how can I heal and open myself up to love again? It is not on that other person to heal you. It's on nobody else to heal you. Own your stuff. Clean your house. If you are going into another relationship, even a friendship, you've got trauma and you're projecting or worried about that in any way, that's on you. What are your thoughts there, Edward?
My thoughts are I tell married couples, matter of fact, that's a landing space
Mm,
on the actual no love simulation that, and that's very understood in my household. Your happiness has nothing to do with me.
mm-hmm,
Zero to do with me. Your
mm-hmm.
happiness is a choice, and that's your choice, not mine. So
Yeah,
don't have any expectations of me bringing you happiness. Happiness is a choice, and you either have it for yourself or you give it up for some reason, which I'm not giving up mine. My
right.
happiness is
Yeah.
my responsibility. Your happiness is your responsibility. Now we can be happy together, and I don't have any expectations of you adding or subtracting to my happiness, which robs me of having expectations that you could actually cause me to be disappointed
Mm,
in your actions
yeah.
or lack thereof. So happiness is definitely not someone else's problem. That's actually probably why the last relationship ended, because you put that responsibility on someone else, which again
Mm,
suggests that you don't have it. This is
yeah.
what I really need the takeaway of this episode to be. To suggest that someone can take your happiness implies that it's someone else's, not yours. And
Mhm.
that is insane to me, to think that someone else could take your happiness. It's yours. You can't even see it, which means it's a decision. And what you've allowed yourself to do is have external experiences that you look at and say, okay, that made me happy, as opposed to realizing that
Right.
you had the external experience and you decided that that was something that gave you happiness. But ultimately, it doesn't matter what the experience was. You decided to be happy.
Mhm.
So that is a great assessment. I agree with it 100%. But no matter what the status of the relationship, dating, relationship, or in the marriage, it is no one's responsibility but yours for you to have happiness.
That right there is a really emotionally mature stance to take. I do wonder if a lot of couples haven't even considered that
No, I
right
can tell
about
you
now.
right now, the answer is no. It's not. They really
Yeah.
think that is their spouse's or their
Mhm.
partner's job
He doesn't
to
make me
make them
happy
happy.
anymore. She doesn't make me happy anymore. The kids don't make me happy anymore. I'm over here like, well, no one's gonna make you happy, but that's a whole lot of external right there. Like a
Yeah,
whole
so
lot.
and not to mention, how do you make you happy?
Yeah.
And they won't
Yeah.
have an answer. And if there was an answer, then you could do that while they're not supposedly making you happy. And you'll be
Yeah.
happy all the time.
Yeah. You know what? I have to share this part here because it's actually interesting. My husband and I have been together for so long, as you know, about 20, 22 years, whatever, married for 19. And over the years, he himself has pointed out about me to me. He's like, I know you are your own favorite person. He's like, I know that when you want to be alone, you want to be alone with you. He's like, you don't even
Yeah.
need me for that. He's like, I'm
Yeah.
over here like, can I share your space with you? And I'm like, yes, you can. But he has pointed that out. You are your own favorite person. I want that for everyone. There's
Oh,
no
most
shame in
certainly.
that.
So in my household, we we live harmoniously as individuals.
That's smart. That makes sense.
So we come together, we enjoy each other, and then most of the time we're going to be at different four corners because there's four of us in here now. It's me, my wife, and my two younger children. My oldest son is out of the house. So it depends on when you come in the house as where you'll see us. We'll typically congregate in the living room while we'll decide to watch a movie or what have you. And then after we consume that, we're all gonna
Yep.
separate. And my
Yep.
wife is gonna be in our bedroom. I'll probably be in the office. My daughter's gonna be in her room. My son's either gonna be in the living room or he's gonna be in his room. And then there'll be different random touches. You've heard like when we talk on the
Yeah.
phone and stuff,
We
my
work.
son to
Yep.
come in, he'll lay his head on me, he'll say he'll love me,
Yeah.
then they'll transition. My daughter will do the same, and it's just that's just how our house is. But I say all that to say, we live as individuals for multiple reasons. One, it's imperative that you have your own identity and your own sense of self because, and this there's two things that's inevitable about a relationship: death or divorce. That's it.
Yep.
The two
Yeah.
D's:
That's the deal right there.
death
Yep.
or divorce.
Either
So
way,
at
they are
one point
going
in
to
time,
end.
you're going to be
Yeah.
alone.
Hmm.
You're going to be alone. And a lot of people don't know how to do that. So when they've made their children their life, when the children are gone, they're done. They're slowly dying at that moment. When their spouse is gone, you can look at it. It's not too long past the spouse
Yeah.
leaving that they die
Yeah.
because they don't have a life. They don't know what to do without this person. And that's just sad. And that's why people with passion say my other half. And it's literally because
Yeah.
they created one. And
Yeah.
that's a sad thing because once that other half is gone, that means you're not whole. And that is insane to me.
Yeah, well, that leads me to whole, there's been talk over the years of two wholes become one or they become unified. Now, I do agree. A marriage is a unity. I don't
Yeah.
believe, though, that that was ever intended to cause one or the other person to lose half of who they are. I
Yeah.
don't believe that.
Most
I
certainly.
think two wholes come together in unity, but it's not your other half. I agree with it. When people tell me that, where's your other half? I actually like to come back with no, was it better half or other half? Either way, I say, oh, you're
Yeah.
referring to Doug? My husband, he's a whole person. I didn't marry half a person. He's probably
Facts.
mowing the lawn right now.
Exactly.
With that every day.
Exactly. Not to mention, and that actually does cause a lot of friction in marriage. It's
Mm.
trippy to me when people get married, they start trying to change the other person to them.
Oh
That's
yeah.
what they
Yep.
so and that's why I say we live harmoniously as an individual. When you think of harmony, there's other instruments that maintain themselves, but they make
Mhm.
one beautiful sound. That's harmony.
Yeah. I
So
like that
so
description. That's a really good one.
you
Yep.
maintain who you are, but you work together harmoniously. So you still remain the essence of who you are. You still remain true to your notes or your contribution to the sound, but you're doing it collectively together. So that's what marriage is. That's what's becoming one. It's harmony, not you all becoming one entity.
Right. I like that.
Because if you all are the same thing, then one of you are not needed.
And why would we even need marriage to
What
begin
is
with?
what is the point? What is the
What's the
point?
point?
Yeah, so that is what I would have to say to that.
I love it. That's beautiful, Edward. It's beautiful. It actually leads me to dovetail very nicely into this game behind you. And I know we keep talking about it, but I want to bring it up again because I have pulled up some cards for the day. Tell me about
Awesome.
this game. What's it called? Who's it for? And why would we play it?
So it's called No Love, just like the podcast. Um, it's for anyone who's brave enough to go through a
Mm.
simulation and see themselves and how they actually could crash in a relationship to avoid them crashing in a real one. So it allows a safe environment for them to go through the different evolutions or yeah, the evolution of a relationship from dating all the way to marriage to see how those things could the contributions could cause issues, dating, sex, poor communication, all those things in a simulation so that you can learn how to crash in the game to avoid crashing in real life.
I love that. With that in mind, I will point out before I read these cards of the day that Edward, you don't take it easy on people. Like, you didn't even try to take it easy when you made these cards. Some of these, I'm like, I'm reading myself and I know you and we're great friends and we're doing this podcast together. And I'm like, why is Edward calling me out again? This is so rude. Right? One of the cards that I pulled today is one of them. I'll lead with that. It was really, really interesting. I have been guilty of this in my marriage. Um, it says, now I will acknowledge before I read this that I've gotten better over the years, but I've been guilty of this. You won't acknowledge or even consider your mate's requests, concerns, or complaints. And you believe that his or her newfound silence means that he finally or she finally understands that it's about what you want, not what he or she wants. You soon find that your mate's silence is because there is now someone else who does consider your mate's requests, complaints, and concerns. And you have here as a suggested workaround, you said you can either work it out and lose two turns or go back to single. Would you care to expand on this card for me, please? That's a
Oh
doozy.
wow. No, that's wow. That's perfect for this particular show.
Hmm.
We have some people that well, first and foremost, if something is brought up, it's because it's been thought about, it's been felt, and how you respond to that is only gonna be and that's what I actually it's crazy. I don't I need you all to know, full disclaimer, I have no idea what cards or questions she's
Yeah.
going to ask
None.
me.
I never give him a heads up. Nope.
I have no idea.
Mm-mm.
But we talked about this earlier in the show when I said you might have suggested that or you might think or assume that you made this environment that is okay for this person to share and I am this type of person, but if this person has come to you multiple times and they
Hmm.
shared, "Hey, I don't like this. Hey, I need reassurance. Hey, I need" whatever their complaint is, and you all don't unpack it to accommodate what it is that they're saying, or at least speak to it from an intellectual stance to where we unpack why they feel this way, whether their thoughts are valid in the sense of again unpacking the facts or the truth, because as we've discussed in previous episodes, feelings aren't facts.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
we can
Right.
point to it and navigate and conclude that, okay, I do see where you're coming from, or that's not my intent, to where we can get clarity and possibly pivot. Just because they silence themselves does not mean that now they get it. Oh, now she understands now that I'm not moving on this, or he understands that I don't play about this particular. That doesn't necessarily mean that. That could
Ooh.
be they're done talking to you about it, but it
Hmm.
doesn't mean
Yep.
that they're done talking about it
Right.
and they're getting nurtured in that. It could mean that they're getting nurtured somewhere, or it could mean that they have a war within and you think you found peace, and now there's a lot
Right.
of resentment and it's going to shift how they maneuver and treat you as well. So that's what that card is about. We assume things or we get so self-centered and we think because we're thinking that we're winning. That I'm glad I slipped up and said that. When you look at relationships as a win or lose,
Hmm.
you you actually approach it that way. Um,
Interesting. Yeah.
so you're
Yeah.
trying to win, and you've literally made your your mate an opponent
I get what you
that
mean.
that you're
Yeah.
trying to win
Yeah.
a
You say
game
that's what you
against.
want. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
psychological approach, there's no
Hmm.
winner in that because that suggests that
Hmm.
he or she lost if you win and vice versa.
And now you're
There's
both losers,
absolutely
actually.
no
Everybody
there's no
loses.
compromise or consideration in that
Hmm.
setup. So when you get to that place, or if you're playing it, life that transitions to life too. I know a lot of people that
Hmm.
suggest the boss. No, because then he or she will win. I'm like, win? What are we talking about? So
Right.
it shifts your approach to the situation. So it's just a card. to make you self-assess and be like, hold on. And what I was saying in the beginning is if they're bringing it up, there's a reason for that. And to ignore that is literally opening a door for someone else to actually say, well, I'll talk to you about it. And then I'm going to
Yeah.
leave it with, and if that person is willing to talk to them and console and nurture that thing, is it really just their fault that they cheated?
Mhm. Right. Which I
Is
love.
it
I
really?
love that you bring that up
Cheating
like
is
that.
not
Yeah.
right, but is it really just their fault that they
It may
cheated?
not be right, but it's not done alone.
Nope,
It's not
not at
done in a
all.
vacuum. Mm-mm.
So,
I
and
will
I
tell
I
you.
want to bring up something that you said.
Yeah,
Um,
I love
you
this.
said that it's like I didn't pull any punches. Um,
No.
these cards are really in your face. Every single card was me,
Yeah, I love
and
that.
and I could
That's
not
great.
pull back punches with me when I dissected my relationship, my marriage, in order for us to get to the true essence of love. So this simulation is literally my process in a practical game or simulation so that you can literally take the process that I took, that I'm not going to leave any stone unturned. I'm going to be honest with myself. I'm going to have a mirror. And it's also something that you said that I love, even though it doesn't feel good, that you read the card and it made you feel like, oh my gosh, why is he talking to me that way? That's not me talking to you that way. That's you talking to you that way while reading the card. So that's you testifying to yourself that, oh my gosh, I feel exposed. He saw me and I don't know you from Adam. And
Right.
that's literally
Yeah.
why it was created that way. When I was doing counseling, I let my clients use it so that I could counsel on what the game said. I don't need to ask your business. You don't want to tell me your business anyway. So we go into counseling or going deeper into what the cards say. That's for one, me robbing you of saying that I was biased because he's a man and you're a woman. It robs you of the bias of saying that you two are ganging up on me because I don't know that this is you.
Right.
It
Yeah.
just robs you of all the hurdles that a counselor has to jump through just to get to the root of the issues.
I love it. I will leave on one last thought on this one as encouragement to people who are listening, and then as soon as they can play the game, I strongly encourage the game. That particular situation. Let me pull up that card again. That really resonated with me. I was like, ooh. Uh, was was when it said when oh, the newfound silence means that he or she finally understands. There was a situation going into our 10-year anniversary that I was just sick of fighting about what this was. I was sick of it, and finally told him I was sick of it. I could tell he was sick of it too, and then he finally got quiet, and I'm like, finally, it's resolved. It was nowhere near resolved.
Wow.
So skip ahead a little
Wow.
bit and see. And my husband and I have we have very predictable schedules, and I mean, we are intimate with each other in all ways. Like we know. So there was a little bit there. He started coming home a few minutes later. Now I knew there was nothing going on because he didn't have the time,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
But just a few minutes later, and I don't know, once or twice I wouldn't really even think about it. But and then again, maybe a week or two in, and I finally asked him, like, you've been coming home a few minutes later every day. What's going on at work? And I actually did not even see this coming. You think I should have? He was like, "Oh, we have a new person in the office. We were just talking for a little bit. I just want to know how her day was." And I went, "Her? What's her name?"
Yeah.
And that is what I realized. Now there wasn't no stepping out or anything, but
No.
somebody else was listening to him, and
Yeah.
I'm right at home. And I told myself, whoa, oh no, not the way I
That
came up,
opens so
not with the
many
baggage of
doors.
trauma I got. Yeah, no way. I see the wolf at
Yeah.
the door right now. That's on me. It's time to fix this. So I ended up sitting down and like, all right, let's review this again and let's pretend, even if you don't, and I told him this, you don't even have to believe it, but let's pretend that you believe I'm actually open to understanding you right now.
Wow.
and we and
Wow.
we and we and we got through it, and then had to continue getting through that topic. But that's why I love this card. I made an assumption, and that is a topic that went on for years, and I thought it was resolved, and it
Wow.
was not. Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting, right? Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's no, that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's good. And I get it. But again, we think, yeah, I showed him or I showed her or I'm done with
Yeah.
this. Okay.
Finally
Okay,
done.
done with
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah. You about to find out how not done you are. Might be now, might be later, but you will find out.
Exactly.
That's how I can tell that
Exactly.
you've been through this. What you said, that when I read these cards, I can tell that you've been here because it takes that kind of insight. It takes experience to be able to write about this stuff in the language that
Most
you write
certainly.
about. So
Oh man, I'm
that's what
glad.
I got today, Edward.
Ah, well, I mean, that's all I have. One thing I just want to make sure, like again, I
Mhm,
the relationship that you have with children around
mhm.
is a relationship that that you're training them to have with someone else. If you don't want that for your children, you really need to consider you all transitioning the relationship. Do not stay together for the children. Please leave for the children.
Strong. Yeah. Strong. Yep.
Leave
Yep.
for the children because all you're doing is teaching them how to do relationships. And if that's not what you want, then you should not live in that for them. It's not beneficial at all. And also be mindful cuz forgiveness is a really tricky thing.
Mm,
And that's what I mean earlier what I meant earlier when I said what you're not able to give is something you'll never be able to receive. And I guarantee you you're going to need forgiveness. I don't care I
yeah.
don't care who you are or who you think you are. You're going to need forgiveness. And if you can't give it, even if you received it, you won't be able to receive it. You have
Yeah.
to first be the evidence that something can be done in order for you to receive what you want done. So you need to forgive first, you need to love first, only so that you can receive it as evidence that it can be done. And that's all I got for y'all. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah. One last thing. If you ever get curious about how to pick up on anything unusual with your spouse, coordinate your schedules. It actually prevents a lot more issues than just the one. If you know where they are and what they're doing, and they know where you are and what you're doing, you can notice the little idiosyncrasies that just get out of whack a little bit. Or he might be coming home 3 minutes late. She might be leaving 3 minutes early. Like there is something to that, I think, that kind of intimacy as well as the everyday life.
In a nutshell, pay attention.
Pay attention. Exactly. Yeah, I like that. Pay attention. You said it better. Yep.
Pay attention.
Yeah.
And with
Mhm.
that, we're paying attention to the time. We've reached
Yep.
about an hour. So we're going to conclude the show by saying we love you. We hope that we gave you something that you can use in a practical measure. We don't apologize if we hurt your feelings. But we do want you to realize that if it hurts your feelings, that we more than likely were talking to you, and it's something worth investigating. And it was definitely out of love because we don't want you living in a lie. So again, with that being said, we love you. We appreciate your minds and times. Until we meet again, y'all be safe. Talk to you later. Peace.
That was good. All right, go ahead and stop the recording. I'll come back and I'm going to